may have wondered what would happen if the dumbest people in the world gathered together in the same room and tried to have a conversation. Well,
Black and brown Americans, tribal citizens, and rural residents much more likely to lose their lives, whether it's in a car or as a pedestrian being hit by a car. There are a lot of reasons related to discrimination, related to even the ways that roads are designed and built, who has access to a safe street design.
Hey folks, Dale Jackson here. It looks like Mayor Pete is at it again, telling you that everything is racist. And you know what? This is a bit of a trend for him. He's been saying this for quite some time, but he was with Al Sharpton. And of course, they were talking about race because what else is Al Sharpton going to bring to the table except rioting, maybe?
We've got a crisis when it comes to roadway fatalities in America. We lose about 40,000 people every year. It's a level that's comparable to gun violence. And we see a lot of racial disparities. Black and brown Americans, tribal citizens, and rural residents much more likely to lose their lives, whether it's in a car or as a pedestrian being hit by a car. There are a lot of reasons related to discrimination, related to even the ways that roads are designed and built, who has access to a safe street design that's got crosswalks and good lighting, and who doesn't have that access. That can drive disparities, and we have a responsibility to act on that.
The best part about this interview is that even Al Sharpton isn't buying it. Look at Al Sharpton's face here. Does this look like a guy who's taking Pete Buttigieg seriously? And obviously Al Sharpton is not buying this because the entire idea is incredibly stupid. And I will give you a perfect example. It is known that if you want to bring down the number of accidents and fatalities in any particular community, you enforce the traffic laws a little more fervently. And I live in Huntsville, Alabama, where they did just this. And they ended up bringing down the number of traffic accidents and fatalities in communities of color by writing more tickets in those communities. At which point the city councilman complained that too many tickets were being written in that community, even though it was saving people's lives, and they stopped doing that, and the number of traffic fatalities went back up. It was a really, really fruitful endeavor that they decided to stop, because then that was racist. Now, calling everything racist is a lot of fun. Pete Buttigieg is very good at this. It's car accidents today. It was highways yesterday.
Mr. Secretary, you know, many communities of color have been further oppressed by the infrastructure system in our country put in place decades ago. How will this plan address that issue in a meaningful way?
You know, this is so important. There is a troubled history, especially when it comes to highways that were often built through Black neighborhoods, sometimes devastating communities of color. It happened in cities in the North and in the South. There are examples from Pittsburgh to Pasadena of how highway construction reinforced segregation. We have a chance to do something about that. And one of the things I'm proudest of in the President's American Jobs Plan is that it sets up funding to look at places where a highway or some other transportation policy actually made things worse for communities that have been excluded. And this time around, we're going to make it better, whether it means adding connections to a neighborhood that got divided, whether it means taking a highway that's maybe aging and should be put underground so we can reclaim that space for the neighborhood. It's going to mean different things in different communities. But the bottom line is, this time around, we got to make sure we're contributing to justice through the choices that we make.
And this is basically just a little shtick that he is doing here. And I don't think anyone should be surprised by this, but it doesn't really work that well. Why? Because communities of color don't even buy it.
I recognize that I don't have that lived experience. And so the question becomes, what can I do to try to reach out to those who do and invite them to shape the vision of my campaign and invite them into shaping the vision of the White House I propose to them?
I do not have evidence that there has been discipline for racist behavior in the case of Oregon.
And you running for president?
But if
you truly running for president and you black people to vote for you?
But if
you running for president and you want black people to vote for you? That's a downfall. That's not going to happen.
I'm not asking for your vote.
You ain't going to get it either.
Congressman, you are the first African-American member of Congress to endorse Mayor Buttigieg in the 2020 race for the White House. Not only an endorsement, you're going to serve as a co-chair of his campaign. And I know that you did not come to this decision lightly. You spent 2 days with him, full days in Iowa, spent a lot of time talking to him and assessing him as a man and him as a potential president. The polling shows how much he has consistently struggled with African-American voters. Why did you back him, and why do you think he is still struggling to get the support of many African Americans in this country?
Pete Buttigieg is a fraud. Pete Buttigieg is a joke. Pete Buttigieg will never be president of the United States, but he is just attempting to remain relevant. So maybe, just maybe, you will consider him for such a post in the future. But know this, he has nothing to offer to anybody. He has done and accomplished nothing in the current position that he is in. When they did have supply chain issues and other things going on, he went on a paternity leave. So let's not pretend that this guy is serious. He is the definition of identity politics. He is a gay guy who is married and has a family, and that checks a lot of boxes for those who love identity politics, and he loves to play identity politics himself. It literally is all he knows how to do, because fixing the problems he lays out, well, that's not important. Just saying they are racist, that's the important part of all of this. It's pretty sad for Pete Buttigieg, but luckily, he's going no higher